British convoy into Kunming,
Okay.
a military aeroplane into Calcutta. And my father arrived a few months later, having walked out with his forestry assistants, a group of stranded tourists and Sheila, his Labrador dog,
Okay.
over the mountains into China, and then military aeroplane into Calcutta.
Oh, I see. So you were a tourist there, or your family stayed there?
My father was running all the teak forests in northern Burma.
But were you actually staying there, your family?
Oh, we lived in Burma, yeah.
You lived in Burma. Okay.
Until we were pushed out.
So that was which year?
42.
1942. Okay. And you quickly left for London?
No, we left for India.
And then?
Stayed here until 45.
Oh. At that time, how old you were? 42?
In 1942, I was 7.
So, did you study in Calcutta?
So we were based in Delhi.
Delhi.
Yeah.
So you studied in Delhi for at least
I was
couple
in school there. Yeah.
Yeah. For
I think I was six. Sorry. Yeah, getting the years wrong.
Okay.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. Interesting anecdotes about someone who comes after 73 years to the country which is supposed to be overtaking China in terms of GDP in next 2 years perhaps. You say so.
I would think that's quite likely.
Okay. Now my basic question is that last year copper saw quite a decline in its prices. What is your prediction? 2015?
I think that currently the price is somewhere around $5,600. I think that we've got one more leg down to around $5,100.
Okay.
Then sometime late this quarter or in the second quarter, the whole market sentiment will change. The dollar will begin to fall. That will immediately put
dollar fall. When do you anticipate? Which period?
End of this first quarter, beginning next quarter.
Okay, as soon as that.
Yes.
Okay, and then?
Then the market stabilizes, and then you're going to find that China doesn't want to hold dollars, so it'll be importing for inventory as well as current consumption any commodity that it imports. We're coming to the end of a very long economic cycle.
Okay.
Whenever that happens, you get what I call the last fling.
Okay.
Into equity markets, into commodity markets. Central banks try to keep the party going. They fail, but they try. And then you've got to think about if the perception continues that the yen is going to decline further.
What agreements? Rollover is possible?
They got rolled over every year. The problem was that the global economic recovery did not do what it was supposed to do. And it ended up with the reality being that the copper market was in surplus. So the strike price had to be defended. So it meant that the merchants and the banks had to buy surpluses from the producers and warehouse it outside the reporting system to give the illusion of a tight market. Why was it then that the banks and merchants bought warehousing companies?
Now, it's very interesting. Outside the reporting system means that it was the safe haven in China. China
was, there were a number of places where unreported inventories were located. China was one of them, and an important one.
Okay. But there were other major
Yeah.
Warehouses.
In an LME registered warehouse.
So what are the broad geographies where this...
Well, the broad places were basically in LME warehouses, but the copper not being registered, so not reported,
Mm-hmm.
and in China.
Mm-hmm. Now, SEC has done its best, and it is going to continue with that. But that is one leg of the whole scam. What about LME? If LME warehouses are part of the game, what LME is doing, or say for that matter,
I don't know.
they haven't done anything so far.
No.
Neither the regulators, market regulators, commodity regulators in UK has done anything about it.
No. Not done aware of.
On the contrary, Chinese regulators have of late have become somewhat active. They are trying to sort of take things in a serious light. Is that right perception?
Reading between the lines, I would say that's correct.
Really copper, but you are also very much focused on crude oil. Now, crude has dropped from say $110 per barrel to below 50, depending on the quality. So, how do you see it is linked to the overall commodity matrix that is going to sort of...
Well, first of all, I don't just focus on the commodity markets. I focus on the global economy and then copper and the commodity markets, because they're all interlinked.
Yeah.
So the first question you have to focus on is that this is a geopolitical game.
Mm-hmm.
America wants to regime change in Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
America's policy, real policy versus China, is to contain China. It's scared of the creation of the BRICS and the SCOs and what that's going to do to the global structure, economic and financial structure. America would like to have a much bigger influence throughout Eurasia. So you've got conflict. Conflict is being waged through financial markets and cyberspace at the moment, with the risk that it goes into actual conflict. That's a risk, it's not a forecast. So part of this war is being waged through oil prices, with Washington considering that if you have a collapse in the oil price and a collapse in the ruble, the Russian economy will be ripe for regime change. That appears to be the policies of Washington. The problem is that you now have an alliance, a strategic alliance between Russia and China that is very deep and very strong. So you've got China is actually helping Russia. It's providing Russian state companies with dollars so that the Russians can repay their foreign debt in return for equity stakes. But you have the grand chess master in Putin, who's probably thought this whole thing through and is probably 5 steps in front of Washington. And when China and Russia feel the time is appropriate, I'm sure that they're going to be attacking the shorts and attacking the dollar.
What is India's role in it?
I was asked that question this morning, and my answer is that historically India has always followed an independent foreign policy, not aligned itself to any superpower. My own personal thinking is that India is part of the BRICS. India has requested full membership of SCO instead of being a watching company, whatever is the expression. And my personal feeling is that once India sees which way the wind will blow, in other words, will the SCO, or the alliance of Russia and China, appear to be getting the ascendancy over America, then you align yourself that way. In the meantime, you remain independent. That's my own personal views.
Yeah.